Mind control, baby Kong, and a hot pink Zilla. There's a lot to take in by the time Godzilla Kong: The New Empire reaches its city-smashing finale. Here's what that ending means for the film and the franchise. Spoilers ahead! Let's briefly recap. Godzilla Kong: The New Empire begins with Godzilla and Kong in their separate corners of the world. Godzilla is dealing with an uppity Zilla, the giant spider-like monster in Rome. Kong, meanwhile, is still looking for others like him in the Hollow Earth. After a brief trip to the surface, Kong returns to Hollow Earth along with Dr. Eileen Andrews, her adopted daughter Gia, Bernie Hayes, and a charismatic veterinarian named Trapper, who are trying to track down a mysterious signal coming from Hollow Earth. Kong goes down to the subterranean realm, where he finds apes ruled by Scar King. Who is Scar King? He's an enormously powerful jerk of an ape. That's who. Kong fights him and almost wins, but Scar Kong has an ally named Shimo, an ice-breaking kaiju he controls who forces Kong to retreat. Meanwhile, the humans continue tracking the signal and discover a hidden group of Iwi, the tribe of which Gia was thought to be the only survivor. This population has managed to stay hidden in Hollow Earth for eons, and they'd sent out the mysterious signal so that Gia could awaken Mothra. Now that their sanctuary has been revealed, King Kong, whose arm was injured in the battle with Scar King and Shimo, shows up too, along with his new little pal, Zuko. Trapper fixes Kong's arm with a badass new robotic appendage, and newly armed and dangerous, Kong then goes to the surface to recruit an unlikely ally.
Kong can't stop this on his own.
He won't be alone.
Kong takes one of the portals in Iwi territory and surfaces in Egypt. Godzilla finds him there. Well, he doesn't like it. He starts to fight, giving Kong no choice but to defend himself. They knock each other around and smash a couple piles of rocks until Gia appears with Mothra. And Godzilla finally pauses long enough to understand what Kong and Mothra want. They head back to Hollow Earth, and not a moment too soon. When Godzilla and Kong come through the portal, Scar King is already in Iwi territory. But there's a new surprise as well. The Iwi have the power to manipulate gravity, and they've temporarily turned it off in an attempt to bring two pyramids into alignment in order to prevent Scar King from using the portals to the surface. Scar King may be a big ugly ape, but he's definitely not a big dumb ape. He realizes what's happening and orders Shimo to blast the pyramids with her ice breath, preventing them from coming together as planned. After an intense gravity-shifted battle, Scar King and Shimo get pulled through a portal and end up in Rio de Janeiro. Scar King is initially ecstatic to find himself on Earth's surface, a place he hasn't been in a long time. But his happiness is short-lived. Godzilla and King Kong soon come after him through the same portal, kicking off round 2. As they brawl, destroying large swaths of Rio, Zuko surfaces in time to see Scar King disarmed of his weapon, a whip made of an enemy's backbone with a blue crystal attached to the end of it. The crystal is what Scar King uses to control Shimo. And when Zuko destroys the crystal with Kong's axe, Shimo is freed from Scar King's mind control. Shimo turns on her former master, freezing him with a blast of ice breath. That gives Kong the opening he needs to go ape and smash Scar King once and for all into a million little pieces. With their victory secured, the two titans go back to their respective realms. Godzilla returns to his slumber in the Colosseum until the day the Earth should need protecting again. And Kong goes home to the oppressed apes in the Hollow Earth subterranean realm with a newly freed Shimo and declares himself their new leader. Scar King is a formidable villain, all but unstoppable with Shimo under his control. But why was he so hell-bent on reaching the surface of the Earth in the first place? As briefly revealed earlier in the film, Scar King once lived among the surface dwellers in a time when Titan species existed in peace.
In the beginning, Hollow Earth lived in harmony with the surface world.
But then Scar King went Lucifer mode in those prehistoric heavens and set out to claim power for himself, leading to a conflict in which Godzilla cast Scar King and his army into the depths of Hollow Earth. To say that Scar had a while to simmer in his resentment is an understatement, and his motivations in the film came directly from that. He wants to claim dominance over the world he'd so long been denied. He's smart, cunning, and cruel, a combination that would have led to some tough times for the surface world if it got in his way. The threat of Scar King's impending return also explains why Godzilla took the time to defeat Tiamat and build his power level before the conflict. Presumably, the ancient war wasn't an easy one to win, and a rematch could have easily gone the other way. Although Godzilla and King Kong have shown what an awesome force they could be if they teamed up, the ending of the movie makes it seem unlikely that they will continue to be allies. They aren't exactly friends, even if sometimes they have the same goal.
They don't have to like each other. They just have to work together.
As far as the ending of this movie is concerned, it's back to business as usual. Godzilla will protect the Earth's surface from threats. Kong will rule the Hollow Earth, and the humans will try to help both of them on an as-needed basis, presumably while trying to limit the damage to human lives and property. Perhaps the biggest outstanding question is, what will Gia do now that she knows her tribe still exists in the Hollow Earth? She's chosen to stay with Eileen, her adoptive mother, but she has a profound connection to the Iwi. Now that the continued existence of the tribe has been revealed, they, and presumably Gia, will no doubt play a part in future MonsterVerse films. Hopefully that means Mothra will play a part too. Okay, it's time to talk about time. In all the MonsterVerse movies, including Godzilla Kong The New Empire, there doesn't seem to be a difference between time on the Earth's surface and time in the Hollow Earth. Nobody in the Hollow Earth station, for example, seems to be aging differently than those on the surface of the Earth. This may be a bit of a puzzle for anyone who saw the TV show Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. In the show, time in the Hollow Earth moves much slower than time on the Earth's surface, probably because the gravity field is different. Characters who spend just a few days in Hollow Earth return to the surface and discover that years have passed. It's a major plot point.
Can't anything ever be easy?
So what gives? Well, technically the characters in Legacy of Monsters aren't in Hollow Earth proper. They're in a place called Axis Mundi, a sort of connecting world that clearly experiences those time dilations. The assumption is that on either side of that connection, aka Earth and Hollow Earth, time rebalances and runs along more or less the same course. The movies never bother to bring it up, probably because there's no need to. Their characters never actually spend a lot of time between the two places.
We're about to be launched 1,000 miles in 2 seconds until gravity inverts itself and spits us into free fall.
At the moment, there hasn't been a sequel confirmed. A lot of that is probably going to rest on box office numbers. If Godzilla Kong pulls in enough cash, you can probably bet on another installment in the MonsterVerse sometime in the future. If it bombs, well, it's possible the universe gets shelved for a while. Fortunately, it looks like Godzilla Kong is already smashing the box office harder than Kong smashed Scar King. The movie roared into theaters with a $37 million haul on its opening day alone, blowing past estimates and kicking off a strong weekend. With those kinds of numbers to sit back on, it's likely that sequel talks are swirling behind the scenes, even if the public isn't getting an announcement yet. For his part, director Adam Wingard has a few ideas about where a potential sequel could go. He told IGN, "I definitely have some ideas of where they could go. In the way that Kong is treated in this movie, if this movie is successful, I think that the next movie will be the Godzilla version of what we did with this movie, kind of pushing deeper into his story." Wingard also told Deadline that he would love to make a third movie in the MonsterVerse, saying, "I think the seductive thing as a filmmaker when you've done 2 movies is to complete it as a trilogy. That's always what everyone expects." So while a sequel hasn't been given the go-ahead yet, it sounds like Wingard and his team could get one up and running quickly, which is promising for fans who want to see another film in the franchise hit theaters as soon as possible. Godzilla and King Kong are part of a major franchise, and it's hard to imagine Legendary and Warner Brothers wanting that to end. Still, we've all seen what happens when other franchises, like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, get too complicated. As a result, their wait-and-see approach to future films is prudent. The legendary Godzilla has already battled Kong in Godzilla vs. Kong, and then teamed up with him in this one. But there are still plenty of directions a franchise could go in the future. Like Wingard said, delving deeper into what makes Gojira tick would be a worthwhile pursuit. After making Kong the primary focus of the past couple movies, it would be a nice change of pace. There are also plenty of foes and storylines that could be mined from the Toho films, assuming someone can work out the rights. A Destroy All Monsters type of storyline would be a sight to see. It could even get crazier than that. Kongzilla, anyone?
Now I have seen everything.
On the other hand, a future movie could keep the focus on Kong. In the same interview where he mentioned veering into Godzilla's story, Wingard suggested that following Kong's path, now that he's finally king, could have some interesting meat. He said, "He's not going to be a Scar King type of ruler. He's not a dictator of any kind. And so to see how Kong will work with this group and how he himself will be a leader, I think it'll be very interesting, because I don't think it'll be straightforward." While the pair could fight or team up again in future movies, it seems that this could lead to diminishing returns over time. Godzilla Kong had a relatively small cast of humans and whole swaths of dialogue-free scenes where we stayed exclusively with King Kong. So it's possible that future installments could reduce human involvement even more. However, what the story could be after this installment is anyone's guess. Godzilla Kong ends with Kong finding a family of sorts, and it's hard to predict what would bring him and Godzilla back together, although it would bet some New World-ending threat would do the trick.